And Terry Bradshaw was also speaking with 92.5 in Denver about Russell Wilson. And, he had this to say.
We're from Denver.
Yeah.
Your coworker.
I'm so mad at him.
Why? Come on, we all saw this coming. When did you know? When did you really know?
Well, I knew maybe, perhaps. Sean knew. We hung with him.
Yes.
We drank beer. He drank my whiskey. And we would talk, and he would talk. And I'd say, well, you can't go to Charlotte. Yeah. That's the NFC South. You can't go to Houston. They don't have a quarterback down there. You don't want to be in Houston. Where else could he have gone?
Arizona.
No, that quarterback. You don't want to work with that quarterback.
You'd rather work with Russ?
I don't think so, but you know what? That's all he's got.
Yeah. Well,
he's got no choice. But I'll tell you one thing. He'll get the most out of him.
So Terry Bradshaw.
So they're going to the isolation.
You know who that is? That's my guy, Vic Lombardi. That's my guy, Vic Lombardi. Yeah, out there in Denver, 92.5.
He's been covering the NFL for, 30-something years?
Forever. Yeah. He does a tremendous job. But him, Mike Kliss does a great job following the team. But
that's funny, man.
So let me throw this out to you guys as a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
I mean, we need the music.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
We need the unsolved mysteries.
Yeah. Do we get it, though, for a conspiracy theory with another AFC West team?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I just didn't know if Birdo's.
It's right there.
Absolutely.
You see Robert Stack through the fog.
He's got
a
trench coat on.
Oh, yeah.
So does Burt Reynolds, but he's not wearing anything underneath it.
Yeah.
Just a cowboy hat.
So we heard Sean Payton right out the gate set the tone and talk about how there's not going to be people who are outside the organization coming in as far as Russell Wilson's team.
That's what he said.
There's not going to be an office and all that stuff. Like out the gate, he's saying that, making a statement to the public, putting it out there. We then hear Terry Bradshaw say this. Now, I'll remind you guys, too, like those guys were all close. They worked together for this past year, this past season. And one of the things that I think I took away from all of this is Sean Payton was even kind of leaving you some breadcrumbs.
Oh.
Like 2 weeks before, he was wearing an orange tie, and someone had asked him, hey, was that maybe prophetic of what was going to happen? He's like, yeah, there was an intent behind that.
Oh.
He's a very calculated guy. How do you kind of put it out there that maybe, you're taking this job, but you're not all about the guy who's currently there? You let other people do it for you.
Huh. That is true.
I'm just saying, he's savvy enough to be able to say, and by the way, we all know Terry. Terry's he's awesome. One of the best in television. We all know people, if Terry would said it too, people would be like, well, it's Terry. Come on, it's Terry Bradshaw. He says this crazy stuff all the time. But maybe this time, there's a little bit of, hey, Terry, why don't you help me out with something here?
He knew, that was a direct conversation that they had. And it sounded like they had it a couple of different times.
He established the fact that he drinks his whiskey. And when you're drinking whiskey, somebody's whiskey that made it and they're there and your colleagues, you're going to talk.
Yeah.
He put that light, basically, if you deciphered and read between the lines, he said, Russ stinks. You stink. Think about it. But he's got no choice. And the biggest indictment of the whole thing was Kyler Murray. He don't want to work with him. So Russ is considerably the least of the evils of the ones you don't want to work with.
Yeah. Which
is great. That's how Terry Bradshaw put it.
It was weird how Terry kind of was like, oh, you don't want to go in the NFC South. You want to go to Carolina. And I was like, why? Doesn't that division seem ripe for the taking? If Tom Brady's retired, you don't have to worry about Tampa.
Maybe he was looking at maybe it wasn't an option because maybe the Saints weren't going to do a deal with an NFC South team. Yeah. But it does – this is what I wonder. I wonder if Sean Payton, part of the reason why he finally accepted the job and took the gig is he needed an understanding from new ownership.
That he could get rid of him.
Yes, who didn't give Russ this contract. Yes. Hey, I need to know if this is a bag of crap in year one, that we can wash our hands and walk away.
I believe I said that before. I believe I said Sean Payton coming into Denver. You can't be married to the situation of I have to make it work with Russell Wilson. You can't be married to that. This is a golden opportunity for Sean Payton because it's not a bad team. They just weren't cohesive. It was they went in the opposite direction of being a cohesive team. Their defense was holding up for them all year long, and their offense terribly underperformed. So if you're looking at it from a very critical perspective, what is the one element and the one factor that kept coming up and was kept and continued to be the main focal point of why this team performed so poorly? Is your quarterback.
Yeah.
Is your quarterback and the way the games were managed, and that fell on the head coach as well. So those one of those elements is still there, and I'm totally with you on that. Like, why not put it out there like, hey, listen, there will be no office. Your quarterback coach will not be in here. Your staff will not be in here, and I needed to know before I'm coming that if this doesn't go right, you're not basing my job security off of the success or failures of one Russell Wilson.
To further your point on, at least I think, the league perception of what the issue was there in Denver, does Nathaniel Hackett get an OC job right away for a team that not only needed someone to come in, but needs someone to come in, fix Zach Wilson, be able to help them offensively? Because that's the one thing they need there in New York. It's not their defense. Mm-hmm. It was their offensive issues. Mm-hmm. And I think if there was a perception that Nathaniel Hackett was that bad as an offensive coordinator,
then he's
not getting
pick him up. That's a great point.
But he gets picked up like that.
Great point. So it's got to be Russ.
I think that's
it's got to be Russ.
And I know some people who know Nathaniel Hackett, and there was kind of that conversation of when we get time, we'll talk about all the stuff that went on. And so clearly there's more to the story there, and I've heard some different things too, from Denver. But I just think Sean Payton is as calculated and as savvy as they come. And I think, he's already using the media as a tool
to chop his head off.
Well,
off with his head.
Yeah. I wasn't going to be that vicious.
Yeah.
Off with his head.
But to make a statement and to kind of make sure that everyone in Denver knows who's the head coach, who's running that building, and where the players reside, and that no one's going to be viewed. We talked about this, yesterday? Like, you're not going to view, Russell different from anyone else in this roster.
Mm-hmm. That's it. Thank you, Russ. I don't know what's so funny, Russ. Your career could be in jeopardy here, pal. LaVar just asked you to lose your head, so I don't know what. But at least he's got Sierra.
They might make it racial. You know what I mean? That might come back on me. My apologies. I'll get my apology out already. All right. My apologies for saying off with your head.
Okay, can I also ask this, though? When Terry Bradshaw says...
That was a figure of speech.
He kind of had...
it was in a child's book, or the Queen used to say off with their head. It wasn't the Queen of Hearts?
Queen of Somewhere.
Yeah, and Alice in Wonderland. Didn't she say off with their head?
Queen of Hearts.
I believe so.
Wasn't she the Queen of Hearts?
A card?
It is, but it's also, I believe, in Alice in Wonderland.
Huh.
Yeah.
Bro, you didn't read
LaVar's all over it.
No. If it wasn't the All-22s, I wasn't interested.
Okay. Come on. What was your point? I'm sorry.
Pumping Iron. That's a great movie. I mean, we're talking about great flicks. But again,
Pumping Iron is a great flick.
Yeah.
Is that the Arnold Schwarzenegger one?
Yes.
Yeah. Or my legs or my arms like legs, my legs like people. Is that quote? Do you remember that? Remember they were smoking weed and they were just squatting like 600 pounds.
Can you imagine what it was
like
to be Arnold Schwarzenegger in the 80s? I mean, honestly.
Try being his nanny.
Oh, God.
What? just Happy Father's Day. What? I can't.
Oh, man.
Just trying. But point being, as we bring it back to Sean Payton, when Terry Bradshaw says those were the only options for him, like, he couldn't have just waited another year. Like, the Cowboys' job will open up. If they fall short this year, that's going to open up. Same with the Chargers. So why was there the rush to want to take one of these jobs if these weren't ideal situations?
See, I think Dallas is set up for Dan Quinn to take over. And especially with them elevating, because Brian Schottenheimer was already there as an analyst, them elevating him to OC, even though we know McCarthy's calling the plays, I think it sets up perfectly now for who's the scapegoat. They still really can't move on from Dak, so it's going to be Mike McCarthy. And then you've got an experienced head coach who comes in, and Dan Quinn. They love him. The defense has been great. He gives them a shot to see what he's able to do in that role.
Probably less abrasive of a personality.
Yeah, and you allow Brian Schottenheimer then to call plays. He's done it forever. Now, I know there's Dallas Cowboys fans who, may question whether or not he'll be a good play caller. That's up to their opinion. But it sets up to be that for Dallas, I think, if things don't go well early on this season with Mike McCarthy next season.
If you really think about it, if you look at it from a critical eye, any job that may come available next year is not going to be as attractive as Denver, if you really think about it. Because if indeed what we spoke about is true, where he has the autonomy to be able to handle the quarterback position the way that he wants to, that's a hell of a landing spot.
Yeah. Well, in the ownership group too, right?
I mean, you got resources, and that's a great network play, right?
Yep.
Beyond football, that's a hell of a network play if you have success.
What teams do you see on the hot seat starting next season? Obviously, I think
Dallas.
Dallas.
It's always going to be Dallas.
I mean, Tampa Bay. You could probably say with Todd Bowles if they don't do well.
Yes, Tampa Bay.
I think you could say Dennis Allen, the Saints.
You could say the Saints.
Maybe you look at Atlanta too as one.
Atlanta.
The Jets.
I've been saying Atlanta. The Jets, that's a good one.
Although that feels like it would be Saleh and Joe Douglas would be out.
Probably.
Because how many
the
spins
Chargers,
of the wheel?
The Chargers are going to be on that
Chargers
list.
One.
I mean, the Texans just because it's another year,
I wouldn't say the Texans next year.
Cleveland.
Yeah.
Cleveland definitely.
Another one.
He's on his last leg.
Well, and they can't move on from Watson. There's too much guarantee tied up into him. So
he's on his last.
That's
an interest. That's a curious one because who would want that?
Right.
Who would want that job? So, all right, then keep going because there's still more. There are more.
I would say Washington. Did we say Washington, the Commanders?
I don't
Ron
know.
Rivera?
I don't know that Washington. I don't know that he would be on the hot seat.
I don't think
next
so.
year.
By the way, it's the Commandos. Like we've consistently called them that.
Can we clean that up in the podcast? I said Commanders. I want to apologize for that. I wanted to say Commandos.
Can you just dub that over Commandos? Hey,
Yeah.
real quick, say Commandos. We'll be quiet.
3, 2, 1. What about the Washington Commandos?
Oh, there you go.
Perfect. Yeah.
All right,
We can cut that. We can
Very
splice it
clean.
in.
Clean.
F8 that, Lee. If we can get that done,
Yeah, man.
we'd appreciate it.